Shalom, Sister Kate here. This is a follow-up video for my video that I did on the benefits and the effects of homesteading. And I found it very, very interesting, the timing of that video in which I mentioned the growth of markets and the supply and demand for things like homesteading animals and natural goods and gardens, produce and stuff. And the very next day, the Drudge report headline is about the growth of the dairy goat industry. The increase in the number of dairy goats, the increase in the number of companies that sell goat milk or goat cheese. And it just becomes, in my mind, then I'm not imagining the effects of this whole movement, that it is having influence over our economy and how our economy runs and what is being sold and how it's being sold. And then today there were some comments on the video about meat, sheep and mutton, and how is mutton a food that people are familiar with, and wouldn't it be nice if the sheep industry, meat industry, went the same way as the dairy goat industry. And I thought that was also very interesting because hey Pastor Joe.
Hi.
One of the things that makes dairy goats popular is that it's a very easily digestible milk. And worldwide, goat milk is the #1 milk that is drunk by people. You don't run into the same issues as you do with cow milk, or so many people are lactose intolerant, and so it just makes sense. Africa. The other thing about the dairy goat, of course, is that it takes less infrastructure to take care of dairy goats than it does dairy cattle. Your fencing doesn't have to be as big. You don't have to feed them as much over time. They don't have the same, like if a dairy cow has a problem birthing, it's a huge deal. You have to get a vet out and, what do you call it, a winch and come along. And sometimes there has to be surgery involved, and it can be very expensive, whereas goats in general don't have a whole lot of problems birthing. I've never had a goat have problems birthing, except when the goat got older, it needed more nutrition and more hormones. But there's vets like Dr. Pohl who show these enormous dairy cows having these problems with having calves because they keep breeding the dairy cows bigger and bigger. And it's not a natural progression. It's, people selectively breeding these cows, and then you get into these birthing problems. So that's another reason why dairy cows is growing. So let's look at the idea of sheep as meat. And I mentioned in my video that people who walk the faith that we do, the way, or Torah observant or Messianic, are required sometimes by our feasts to have lamb or goat, like Passover. And some people just choose on some of the other feasts where it's not a requirement, but it was in the old days. With the temple system going on, you had to sacrifice so many animals. Well, now sometimes people just have a goat or a sheep just because, just to give you more of a feeling of what it might have been like at the time. And so people like us absolutely once a year need a male sheep or goat under a year old to have as our Passover. And so that's a demand. But we also noticed with people who are breeding these animals and selling them that there is, among other populations, also a demand for these kind of animals. And people we've talked to who sold them say Muslims are buying them. And I do believe there is a Muslim celebration, at least in Africa, where everyone has a goat or a lamb, because I've seen it on I think it was Ewan McGregor's Long Way Down video, where on a particular day everyone was slaughtering a goat. And then in the Hispanic community, there is something about cabrito or cabrita, a very young goat, a dish that people are looking to eat. I don't know if it's necessarily in the spring, but it's something that people have mentioned. Yes, I've had people buying my baby goats because they are going to make cabrito out of it. So that's an increase. But then the person who made the comment on my video, Aledwin Mayer, I think is his or her name, said sheep is also more easily digestible than meat, like beef. So that may become something for people who get older. Your digestive system slows down. Your tummy doesn't want to tolerate certain things like chili. Chili's not as easy for us to eat anymore. Causes you more issues. And so something like sheep meat will be maybe needed by an older population. The whole population of the United States is getting older, and so maybe sheep becomes an alternative to beef. The issue with sheep meat right now is that it's really expensive, and I don't know if it's because it gets marked up during the Easter time frame. And Easter, in the good old days, like my mom would make a leg of lamb for Easter. I don't know that modern Christians feel like they have to have lamb at Easter time or not. I don't think we did. I think something that people would have at Easter time traditionally would be ham, which is funny because it's unclean. But sheep right now is more expensive, so in order for it to become a meat that people are eating on a regular basis, there has to be either a lowering of a price or something about that meat that makes people want to have it. Now we've had a lamb steak lately, and we had some kind of ribs. Lamb chops. And they were good. It was good flavor. It's milder than venison. It was tender, and it cooked quickly. That was the other thing I liked about it. It only took a couple of minutes to cook both of those cuts of meat, and it tasted pretty good. I don't mind eating it, but I would not prefer it, I don't think, over a meat that costs less. So you sheep producers...
it's not better than beef.
Yeah, it's not better than beef, and it's different. You sheep producers, you got to look at how to increase your demand, and what about your meat is specifically better than other meats. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. I thought it was very interesting timing, and I think it's something we as homesteaders keep our eye on, because again, goats and sheep, well, at least for me, goats, much easier to take care of than a cow. Tastes okay if you flavor it. Goat's not necessarily as good as sheep, but goat can be had pretty cheaply, and you can flavor it. You can have barbecue, you can have curry, you can have like smoked goat or whatever, and it's a good alternative. So I hope this has stimulated some thought in your brain. I appreciate you guys watching, and we will talk to you later. Shalom!